The SAT and the ACT exams are very similar. So once you ask how they differ, you have to understand they're mostly similar. They differ in that the ACT has a science section, which the SAT doesn't have. Although it's misnamed science, it's graphs and charts in a scientific context. There's very little science. So that's one difference. And the ACT has 4 subscores, including science, and the SAT has 3 subscores. The scores, math is on both, English is on both, writing is on the ACT, reading, critical reading is on the SAT, but it's similar. All the English content is relatively similar. So science is the difference. On the SAT side, there's a difference. The SAT is 3 hours and 45 minutes in length. The ACT is 3 hours. However, you can add an optional writing section to the ACT, and then it's 3.5 hours. So a little different in length, a difference in that ACT has science, and those are the primary differences. The first mistake, and perhaps the most common mistake, is that students start to prepare for the test a week or 2 prior to the test, or a day or 2 prior to the test, or the night before the test. All inadequate and insufficient. I recommend 5 to 6 weeks. And you need that kind of time and almost daily practice for 5 or 6 weeks before the test. You need that time to review all of the question types and get comfortable with all of the methods and techniques that you want to learn and practice to do better on the test. So that's the most common mistake, not leaving enough time to prepare and not preparing intensively enough. 1 day a week won't do it. 2 days a week really won't do it. It really needs to be 5 or 6 days a week for 5 to 6 weeks to do a thorough, complete preparation. That puts a student in a position to take the test once, get their best score, and be done. So the second mistake, so the consequence of the primary mistake of not spending enough time to prepare is the student then has to prepare and take the test a second time because they didn't prepare adequately the first time. Step 1 is to decide early which test to write or take, as we say in the United States. And if that's the April ACT, then a student should decide that they should begin preparing at the beginning of March, which is 5 or 6 weeks before the April ACT is administered, which is mid-month this year. So once those 2 dates are decided, the test date and the start of preparation date, then a student has to decide what method they're going to use to prepare. The 3 major methods are from least expensive to most expensive. Books is the least expensive method, getting an SAT prep book or 2. A more expensive method would be a course, a classroom course taught by a teacher, and more expensive than that is typically one-on-one tutoring. There are now online courses available that fit somewhere between books and teacher-led classroom courses. So those are the options, and that's a student should pick one of those methods and approaches early and begin that method or approach at the beginning of March for the mid-April ACT. Well, there's a positive role that parents can play, and what they can do is encourage students to be thinking about the things that I mentioned in the last answer: test date, time frame for preparation, and deciding what method to use to prepare, to help the student make those decisions, to help the student access the method that they're going to use, help the student buy the books, etc. And finally, to give the students some encouragement to actually do the preparation, to actually spend the time. I like to suggest to parents that they say to their students, okay, I understand you need some extra time to prepare for the ACT or the SAT for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I'm going to ease up on chores or any obligations you have. I'll become more intensive about that after the test. So you'll end up doing the same amount, but I'll try to free up some space for you to spend a little extra time preparing for the test. That's a nice kind of deal that I like to see parents make with students to actually indicate in a very real and helpful way how supportive they are of the student putting in the time and doing well on the test.